Hi, I'm Kathleen. I've been painting for about 40 years and teaching art for around 10. And over time, I've carefully observed my own creative process, how I think about each painting before I begin, then the steps I take to bring it to life, and finally how I evaluate the finished piece. And that evaluation part is what you would call a critique. And the first question I ask myself is, did I accomplish what I set out to do with this painting? I mean, what inspired me to paint it? And did I capture that feeling in my final artwork? So then I continue to critique using the same elements that guided my painting process, the elements of art: line, shape, color, value, space, texture, and form.
Going to, let's see. I've got three things to show you about Michelle's painting here. And so we'll start with these. We'll start with these two things about it. So if you are a local person to Northwest Florida, you might recognize this scene. It's a sculpture that's at Northwest Florida State College when you're going into the Maddie Kelly Arts Center. And so when she sent this to me, I've been there so many times and seen that sculpture, and it's very unique thing to paint. And I think she's done a very unique job as well, for a number of reasons. So let's see. So Michelle has been painting about 2 years. That's all. And so she likes acrylic and water soluble oils, and I'm not sure which one this is. And I can't even see the chat right now. If you guys are posting in the chat, when I get rid of the screen share, I can go back and see the chat. But if Michelle is here, if she wants to turn on her audio, she can talk to me. But anyway, I'll continue. All right, so beautiful lines and shapes, don't you think? Did a wonderful job of capturing the sculpture. It looks exactly like it. And I guess I have to bring in the third picture right now, because Michelle did share the actual picture with me. So you can see it, right? So you can see what a great job she did, obviously, because she took a lot of artistic license here. And for somebody that's only been painting for 2 years, she simplified big, big, big thing that, a newer artist often has a lot of trouble with. Do you see how she's got rid of all of that noise in the back, where it could have been a lot of texture and the plants and things going on that we didn't need in the painting, because the focus is the beautiful sculpture. We don't want to have our eye be going, what's going on? And again, it would maybe feel too spotty and not a good composition. So I love how she has simplified her painting, and she simplified the colors. She's got a beautiful, warm and cool color scheme going on that, again, is something she had to really think through. She didn't use that bright blue in the sky, right? And can you imagine if it was bright blue? It just would kind of seem out of place. She chose a very limited palette, which works beautifully, I think, for what she's trying to do. And that's to show the essence of the beautiful sculpture. So we got lines, we got shapes, color, a lot of muted color, isn't it? Now, there's some brighter color in the background a little bit, but it's not too bright. And then on some of the highlights in the sculpture, and that's maybe where I might even go slightly farther, right? So let's start there with the, and I didn't mention the values yet, but gosh, look at that black and white. I mean, that's just lovely. It's got light, medium and dark values. So the suggestions that I'm going to make are very few, but one of them, it would be to work on that, bringing out a little bit more of that lightest value, which you started to do, and maybe you're not finished, Michelle, with the painting, but like, for example, look at this right here. Let's see, let me look at what you did right here. Okay, so you brought out that highlight on that dress. And if we look at the photo, we could see that that was definitely in the sun. So what I'd like you to do as you continue to work on this is look at where else the sun is hitting on the sculpture and highlight those areas just a little bit more. So let's see. And think about brightening them up a little. Again, that code word for higher chroma. So I'm going to use a really light green here. Do you see how it just kind of pops it? Even more so than the lighter grays. And I used to think that I really considered color in the shadow and color in the light for a long time and thought, is it possible that only the higher chroma, brighter colors are in the light and that the shadows must be lower chroma? And I think that's a natural thing to think, but I don't think that it has to be that way. And I see a lot of examples in my own work and other people's work where you can make bright shadows. So I'm not going to say that that's a rule, but I do think in the light, I almost want to say always it's going to be a little higher chroma than in the shadow. Then in the shadow, you can do both, right? All right, so let's look at where else we've got the pretty highlights. Okay, how about, all right, we bring it maybe, and I'm not going to change my color, but you might want to change, a little bit as you go, and just bring out some. I think you've got one here as well, nicely done right here. The back of this one. The arm, and you could even use the same color. Oh, there's a lovely highlight right here on the face. Come down here maybe a little bit. The girl, you are seeing so well, Michelle. All of these areas that I am going over now, I can tell that you have added that you have seen them correctly. But what I'm just doing is I'm just brightening them up even more, just to show you what it could be like, with just a little bit more lightness. And you can see if you like that as well. Yeah. Even in the dress. And so the back of this guy, this feels a little unfinished too. So I want to see some more definite shapes in there. And it's a little bit in the light, but it's mostly shadow on the back of this guy, except for this little bit on the leg here. So let's see, let's take this color, and it doesn't have to all, yeah, it can be a little bit a mid-tone, right? It can be a mid-value, to show a little bit more about what's going on here. This leg is very much in the shadow, so I would continue that up here and make him feel a bit more complete. And I might have even put too much of this mid value up there. Kind of looks, like there needs to be even more darkness. Yeah, that kind of brings it together. So really think about, and I could tell you have your shapes and making them feel like fully formed shapes, either in the light or in the shadow, or in that middle ground a little bit. But everything is either in the light or the shadow. So it's wonderful to think that way, when you're painting. Um, yeah. And now they're in a pond. So I wonder what would happen if we put just a little bit more action, because it is a close up of the scene. So we could get a little bit more texture here, um, a little bit more action as far as, what's going on in here, and make it kind of feel like a little bit of, ooh, this is kind of, this is pretty, I think. And look at, I'm working with this light green still. Um, but look at these beautiful shapes of light down here. If you could capture that, boy, that'd be a really nice addition, I think. Um, but I don't want it to take away too much, right, from the sculpture. So don't put in every little piece of light and things like that. Be very as you have been throughout your painting, very particular about the things that you are adding into it. But yeah, that might work nicely. Yeah. And I was looking at the people's faces, and they just really look like the sculpture in how they're looking at each other and looking up, and so beautifully, dancerly. I know that's not a word, but they're it's just so lovely. So really nice job. You should be super proud, of your work.